Welcome to the Fit Summit Entrepreneurs Network. Today, I am very proud to announce that we are joined together by the two founders of Yoga Movement. Hi, Pete. Hi, Alicia.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you. It's honestly an honor to actually interview both of y'all, especially you, Alicia. We've always seen Pete. He's been a constant support at all our conferences. But Alicia, this is the first time actually interviewing you. So it's honestly a pleasure to actually see you. How are you guys doing today?
We're good, thank you. Thanks for having me. I mean, Pete's the boss, so he represents the company most of the time. I'm the silent cheerleader at the background.
That's entirely incorrect. We all know it. We all know the reason she's not on camera as much is because she really pulls the strings and runs the show. So we all know that.
I like that whole dynamics. You do you, you do you. Thank you so much for coming on board, guys. So I'm going to kickstart with the first question. So the first question is actually going to be to Pete. So Pete, both of you guys have created Yoga Movement. What was the driving force for creating your business, and has your vision changed in the past 12 months?
Yeah, I mean, it's going back a while now. We've moved on in the years, especially when, 18 or 16 months slips off the calendar like it has this last little bit. But I guess the original intent was Alicia's original intent around starting the studio. She was a singer, songwriter, performing around Singapore and around the region, as well as teaching yoga here or there. And she just saw an opportunity for us to do something a little bit cooler, a little bit more accessible, a little bit more youthful, not young, but youthful. We all want to be a little bit more youthful. And I was actually working at the time in a regional branding role for a youth lifestyle company and saw an opportunity to kind of help her out with that. Fast forward a little bit from that inception and, we rolled out our first location with only that being the real intent. Like we had no grand designs for big business or anything like that. We just wanted to do something really awesome, really small, really genuine. And people really, really liked it. And really, even the second location was just born from us being too busy at the first one and us feeling guilty about still selling packages and not being able to service that demand. So number 2 came, number 3 came, number 4, then 5 and 6. And, I'd left my role by that stage and we started to build out structure and build out business. And it became a meaningful little business that we've created here. And I guess the only thing that has changed is really focusing on that structure and that strategy, especially in these harder times that we didn't have at the start, but we built over the years and it's really served us well through these really trying times the last 16 months or so. So for us, I mean, I guess the intent now is to build a stable business or at least lean on our stable business through these difficult times, which has been great.
I think people liking Yoga Movement was an understatement. People love it right now. I think we've followed you guys throughout your journey. We've had the honor, the Fit Summit had the honor of following you guys through the journey. Even when you guys opened a new outlet, the flagship store as well, which is honestly amazing. So we really love what you guys have built together for Yoga Movement. And I'm only looking forward to hear more as this interview progresses. So thank you so much for sharing that, Pete. Let's move on to Alicia now. Alicia, what do you enjoy most about being an entrepreneur first and an entrepreneur couple? And what do you enjoy the least?
Oh, I guess I would have to say what I used to enjoy was not having to clock in 9 to 5. I'm like, this is great. I manage my own schedule. I can, work for 3 hours and take a break and then work for 3 hours, take a break. Sometimes I don't work. So it's really up to my own timing and my own availabilities. But I guess that's also a big part of what I don't like. I think in the beginning I thought it was the dream, right? Everybody thinks it's a dream, like not being on schedule, not being on call. But soon you realize that you don't switch off, like you never switch off. So not clocking in 9 to 5 means you're pretty much clocking in like 24/7. You can ask Pete. I mean, one of the biggest challenges I would say, being business partners that's also family, is that we talk yoga movement, we breathe yoga movement, everything is yoga movement. When we have dinner, we're like, hey, so what do you think about, the campaign that we pulled off today? Oh, what are sales doing now? And it's all consuming. So while that was a really big part of what I really enjoyed being an entrepreneur in the beginning, I think the rapid growth we've had in the last years, we've just been so busy. We've just been so busy and so consumed that we don't even think about it anymore, And sometimes we get our little boys just in the corner going, hey mom, hey mom, hey mom. And we're like, hang on, just checking the email, just one more email. And he's like, hey mom. And I'm like, oh gosh, what am I doing? You know, like there's a 3-year-old talking to me on the side, but here I am just trying to reply to one last email. So it's really a balance that we need to find. So yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. The pros and cons of what I enjoy and what I don't enjoy. You know, it's pretty much the clocking in from 9 to 5.
I think I have to completely agree with you. I think since we all started, I mean, I haven't started a business, but of course, like when we worked from home, we were always like, oh my God, this is so fun. I can wake up anytime I want. I can switch off anytime I want. But that's not the truth, because there's that fine line between the work and life balance which just disappears. And you're always like answering emails at 9 p.m. or 10 p.m. without even you realizing. So I completely agree with you. Thank you so much for sharing that, Alicia. Let's move on to our next question. This is to Pete. Pete, what has been the hardest business decision you had to make in the past 12 months? And why did you have to make it?
The hardest decision was not having the ability to make your own decisions, if that makes any sense. Like really the lack of stability this last 12 or 16 months or so has been the hardest part. So decision making usually you're drawing on information sources and credible things, or even friends or mentors or networks or news sources or something. You're pointing to things and pulling together information to create decisions. That's normal times. In the last 12 or 16 months, trying to derive stability or decision making has been literally the hardest thing. And you know, we have 130 odd staff members looking at us going, well, what are we doing, guys? And we're like, we don't know. We don't know what we're doing, because we're also waiting for 4 p.m. for the numbers to come out, the case numbers, to see what the government might do and what they might not do. And so for us, it's actually having that process kind of just battered and still feeling, I mean, we're a small company at the end of the day. We're not a government presiding over a country. We're not even a big company presiding over tens of thousands of employees, but we still have people looking to us for direction. And I really feel like the hardest part has been not being able to give them that direction, or at least that stability. We tried our best, and I think we did an okay job, or as good as anyone could do with what we had, but that was really, really the toughest part through this last little bit.
I think I have to agree with you, Pete. I think being a leader, especially in this pandemic, where a lot of people are actually looking at you for direction, for answers, when we ourselves are figuring it out, is honestly really difficult. You know, I'm sure better times are coming. And I honestly also think that you guys have been cruising through the pandemic really well as well. So thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being honest with your answer as well. The next question is for Alicia. What does the next 12 to 24 months look for yoga movement and you as well? And what key milestones lie ahead?
You know, I think touching on what Pete just mentioned earlier, it's you know, if you asked me 18 months ago, what's the plan for yoga movement for the next 12 months, I think we would have had a really concrete plan 12 months ago. We're working on the back end, on growth plans, expansions, tapping into new markets. But, you know, obviously, with whatever has happened in the world, whatever is happening in the world, it's really difficult to say what's going to happen even tomorrow, you know, let alone the next 12 to 24 months. I think for us, all we can hope for is just for a little bit of stability in the world, for things to kind of correct a little bit, you know, and when all that happens, we're ready to go. Like we have everything ready to go. It's just right now we're kind of pulled back a little bit on the day-to-day situation. You know, like Pete said, we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So right now we're sitting here 11 a.m. waiting for 4 p.m. to check the news and figure out, okay, let's hope the numbers drop. Let's wait and see what happens. I mean, you know, in the last year, there's just been such a crazy demand for our online classes, a crazy demand for our academy, teacher trainings, which was something that we wouldn't have thought would have been the case. If you asked me 18 months ago, would we be doing 6 intakes of teacher trainings? I would have said no. But you know, it's so fluid and it's so unpredictable at the moment, where it's really difficult to tell what the next 12 to 24 months will look like. So I would say we hope for stability. And then once that stability comes, we'll be ready to go to work on our expansion plans and also technical markets that we've been working on.
It is a very tough question to ask, but I think what we would we love to hear is the authentic answers behind it, and you definitely gave it. So thank you for sharing that. The next question is for both of you guys. So maybe Alicia, you can go first. When you leave, sell, or close the business, what do you want it to be remembered for?
I think for me, definitely it would be that yoga movement has always put brand and service first. I mean, there's obviously through the years been demand for so many different things. Like people will ask us, why don't you do a certain kind of yoga? Why don't you do like more advanced type of yoga? Why don't you provide this? Why don't you provide this? Provide that. But I think Pete and I have always discussed that, we really can't be a company that's trying to be everything to everyone. At the end of the day, it's standing for your brand, it's standing for your service. What are you trying to deliver? Who is your consumer? And, keeping that very clear, I think has always been at the forefront of our minds. So whenever we do planning, whenever we do like campaign shoots and everything regarding, promotions and things to do moving forward, for the forward planning of the business, it's always having that brand and service first. So I think when that day comes, that's probably what we want to be remembered for.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Alicia. That was very beautiful. How about you, Pete?
It's weird to talk about exit. Like we didn't start a business to exit it, and that's such a foreign concept to us. Like it took us 4 or 5 years into the business before, a bunch of people approached us about whether it was purchase or whatever, and they're like, well, what's your exit plan? I'm like, what's an exit plan? Like we
had no idea.
We thought it was stupid that you would start a business to get rid of it. Like we just didn't get it. And I guess that kind of runs in line with our passion to create something great, because we weren't building it to leave it, but times do change, and, family comes in and different things happen, and you start to realize that, hey, you can't do this forever. Like literally cannot do this forever in the way that you want to do it. And you start to realize you have other passions outside of what you're doing. For me personally, for our business, I wanted to be known as a great branded delivery. And that's my personal thing, is I want to brand things. Like I want things, grab something, a service or a product, and be able to communicate it effectively to an audience that would really love it, wants to engage with it. And I used to do it back in surf and youth lifestyle and skateboarding, now yoga. I want to go and do it into other things, and have done it with some friends' businesses, whether they're concreting businesses or other fitness businesses, and it's just what I really like. So I would love Yoga Movement to be thought of as just a really tight brand, really excellent, cool, tight brand.
I think whatever you both mentioned, I guess you guys are already like 80 to 90% already there. Honestly, being a brand, being a lifestyle, and having actually something to actually look back on and saying that this is a lifestyle, this is something that I've experienced. You guys have been already very successful doing that. So thanks for sharing that. Moving on to our second last question. We'll start with Pete first. What are the challenges of being an entrepreneurial couple?
It's great. There's no challenges at all. I don't know what you're talking about. It's all rainbows and sunshine. No problems whatsoever. Look, we started Yoga Movement when we were kind of dating, and it was mega reckless. We threw our life savings, which, just to be clear, my life savings and her life savings, for some astronomical reason, were about the same amount, and they were pitiful. And we chucked them in a joint bank account. We signed a bunch of stuff, started the company, signed a lease, and threw it all in. Like, it was reckless. We ended up having a successful first location, and second one, I'm like, I've got to marry this girl. Like, she's epic. She's everything, you know. I proposed to her in our first location, actually, at the end of a class, which I had hid the ring underneath the mat for the whole class and then pulled it out at the end. And like, the crazy thing is, the difficulty is that it is such an intense thing. Like, really, breakfast, lunch, dinner, jump in the pool, talk about it, go to Bali, be on the plane, talk about it, be at a nice dinner. You'll see it on our Instagram, but we're talking about it. Pull the covers off the bed tonight as a couple and talking about the sales reports because they're finishing about the same time as we go to bed. So it's all consuming, but at the same time, you know, without getting too personal, we see a lot of people in the world in our age breaking up, separating, or losing track as a couple. And we like to think that Yoga Movement has been a common journey or a joint goal that we've had to work on together. And for all the challenges and negatives, it has to be one of these amazing positive things for us. Like, we've really been through stuff together where we've literally seen the worst of each other, literally, as much as we've seen the best of each other. And we're still here and we're still strong. We've got two beautiful little kids, and we're kind of like, well, if it hasn't knocked us off yet, we're going to be all right.
Yeah.
Like, she'll probably stick around for another 20 or 30 years, you know. But it's challenging. I don't recommend it, but at the same time, it'll be something that will define us. Like, for the rest of our life, we'll talk about this. So, yeah.
I don't think I have anything else to add. What he said.
I'm just like, husband, are you actually watching this? Are you hearing what Pete's talking?
It'll be easier if I leave the room and she can talk about it, then she'll open up if I leave the room.
I think I pretty much said it in the previous question already. Yeah. And yeah, you've touched on the benefits of it as well. So I don't really jump much into that.
I think it was beautiful. I mean, Pete, like that couldn't have been more beautiful. Like what you said, like in terms of the challenges, in terms of being authentic as possible, and like what you said, the fine line between drawing the work and life balance. But you wouldn't choose anybody else to do this with. So thank you for sharing that. That was really.
Maybe Chris Hemsworth.
Yeah.
He's dreaming. I would join Chris Hemsworth in business. He's stunning.
Definitely got a man crush. He's always like,
well, me too.
I mean, you know, I think 90% of the world do, right? So.
Thanks for sharing that, guys. Moving on to finally our last question. Alicia, can you share an early business lesson or mantra that you've learned that still rings with you through today?
I think for me that would be about focusing on service and quality and not on the lowest price. You know, from day one, I think even as a startup, even at our first location where we've had days where there's been, you know, like one person, two people coming into class, we're always like, oh, should we be panicking, or should we be looking for like throwing in a mega discount, or you know, working with like a third-party agency to like throw out our classes at, again, like major discounts. But I think through that time, even through the hardships of, you know, starting a new business, going through a pandemic, we've kind of never really given any kind of discount, because we believe in our product. We don't believe in just saying, hey, look, we need to tie us through these hard times, therefore let's just cheapen, you know, our service, cheapen our product. How low can we make our prices, you know? We've always decided on value add. So deciding on how to actually add value to what we already offer. So for example, you know, can we charge the same amount, but we throw in maybe an extra t-shirt, like a yoga movement merchandise on top of that, you know, to still instill in people that there is still value in what we do. You know, we're not like shunning away from our quality. Like even through the pandemic last year, I think there had been a lot of questions around how do you guys price for your online classes? And for us, we're like, you know, we don't want to discount, because we believe the online experience should be on par with the in-studio experience. You know, it's not a class where we say, okay, you know, I'm just talking to the screen. We actually engage in the clients in the class, in the room. So we have a capacity of the amount of students that we accept into a Zoom room. And also the teachers would give each client the attention that they need. So we've stuck our grounds, and we've actually charged the same amount that we would in an in-studio class. And people are like, well, how do you do that? We're like, you know, because we do still see value, and we don't want people to lose confidence in the value of our product. So I think that's always something that we believe in. And I personally believe that should also be a consumer mantra. You know, I know it's easy to go out there and say, hey, I'm going to shop for like the best bargain. I'm going to get the best bargain. I'm going to look for the cheapest price and just see what I can get and like go everywhere with the cheapest price. And I feel like people should be more aware of quality, of service, of what the brand has to provide, taking into consideration everything that the business puts into the product that they're trying to provide to you. And not just say like, okay, you know, let me look for something that's the cheapest. So that's something that kind of stood by me through the last 9 years of doing business. And I think Pete can say the same in this aspect. Yeah.
What about you, Pete? What is something that has stood like a long time true still today?
I think we've got a huge, I'm going to say a name, Cynthia Jewell from Spira Spree Group, who we've worked with or a fair bit, or at least pointed to as somewhat of a mentor. I don't know if she would take that title, but she's been awesome. And very early on to us, we would tell her about our margins and how well our business was doing and stuff like that. And because it was the two of us, we didn't have office people, headquarters or management teams. We were just running around like donkeys for 16 hours a day, doing absolutely everything. We had that startup hustle, and we would talk to her about it, and she'd go, That'll change. That will change.
Yeah.
Margins will get tighter. It'll get harder, but you'll get better. And the thing is that's really stuck with me the whole time. Is like people kind of feel like they're going to put some time in, really hustle for a little bit, and then it'll be easy sailing. It just doesn't happen. There's no end to the work. It doesn't finish. And all that happens is you do just get better at dealing with stuff. How have you taken 5 years ago Pete and dropped him into last year? That guy is gone. Like he would have never been able to deal with, last year. But the 5 years of experience post that really helped me to deal with, this whole COVID-19 pandemic thing. And so for me, the best bit of advice I got is that don't expect that it will finish. Don't expect that your hard work will get to a point and you're popping champagne bottles and flying around in private jets. It gets harder, but you just get better. It's all a little bit of perspective, and that's really helped me a lot.
Very beautifully said, guys. I think Pete, when you mentioned, I think it will only get harder, you will just get better. I think that was a really common thing. And with Alicia, the one that you mentioned, everything is just, you can't cheapen stuff. It has to go for quality. And I strongly resonate with you on that. I think you guys have done a really good job. And I think one thing that you've mentioned about how virtual and live experience, we were trying to mimic the same thing. But in terms of virtual experience, you're actually providing something new, something extra, and a bit more support for them as well. So I believe that that's why the pricing point never changes. And this is honestly a constant debate among all the online virtual providers as well. But thank you for staying true to the brand. Thank you for delivering always first-class service with Yoga Movement. Every time I enter Yoga Movement, whether I book it through the app or whether I book it through ClassPass, it's always a wave of family welcoming us into the group. So into the studio. So thank you so much for sharing that, guys. Thank you for giving me such an awesome interview. I'm sure everyone watching this interview will really enjoy themselves. Do you both have any final words to say to anyone watching this across the world?
Hang tight.
Yep.
Hang tight. I think everyone's got many brave faces out there, but stuff is hard. It's been really, really hard. We're big advocates to talk about tough stuff and normalize how difficult these times are. We don't believe in false positivity. We believe acknowledging that things are really, really shitty and really difficult sometimes. But do your best trying to find someone to talk to about it that can relate, that doesn't really need to give you advice, but you can just spurt out to. And that's a big thing for us, is just know that not everyone's smashing it at the moment, even though they're going to put it out to the world that they are, and we'll get through. But it's always going to be hard. Just choose your heart, and yeah.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.